guys, it's Drew here and I'm going to be making the Grumpy Witch tag. Hopefully you guys can hear me, and all my notes are below. It's summertime here and there's a kind of party going on in the background, so if you hear some wild noises, that's why. So I'll get cracking. So do you have a least favourite time of the year magically? Probably summer, and not necessarily because of the magical principles of it, just because it's really hot in Australia and I don't necessarily feel motivated to actually do any magical practices. And I've noticed that like with the intersection of my own spirituality with like against my own personal life as well, there's not like a lot of boundaries between those two. I live a pretty open spiritual life, so I tend to do a lot of reading in the summer. I've noticed over the years that summertime is the best time, usually because it's also the holidays from school. That used to be the case when I was a teenager as well. So I'd say like in terms of working, summertime is hard for me. And I used to think that winter was my favourite time of the year because of shadow work, especially when I started practicing. But you know, over the years with climates and different changes in like scenery and different changes to my practice, I have kind of just let go of like seasonal, I guess, associations in terms of magic, which is really hard to let go of sometimes, and recreate your own. But being in chaos, which I kind of just go with what feels right with me, and I move with what system works for me and what season and what, yeah, I guess that's probably the best way to say it. Is there a herb that you don't like working with or never seem to work with, or never seems to work in your practice? Not really, but I will say that it frustrates me that mugwort is toxic because I love mugwort. I love it in tea. It's one of my staples, and you can have it in tea, but it's kind of like a minimal dosage because it is, like I said, just toxic to your liver. I do kind of wonder if some of my liver issues were relating to the fact that I used to drink copious amounts of mugwort tea when I first started in my practice without doing much research into like the side effects of having herbs. And I think as well, like I tried smoking herbs as well, and that didn't go down so well either because of my asthma. So anything that you sort of would need to smoke as well just doesn't work really well with me. Yeah, not really, I guess. I mean, I use a lot of herbs. I can tell you my favorite herb, but that's not the point of the video, so yeah. Is there any stone or crystal that you don't like working with or never seems to add anything to your practice? Yes, and I've got an itchy day, sorry. Fluorite. My good friend Larissa at the Basement talked about fluorite for a really long time and the benefits that she was experiencing and what it sort of worked with her practice, and it wasn't really a stone I wasn't even drawn to in the first place, but then I just sort of had like I saw some pieces in a shop and I decided to try it out, and it just did not go well with me. I've got a lot of crystals, a lot of stones, a lot of rocks. Did not work at all. It caused a lot of nightmares, which I already struggle with insomnia and like sleep paralysis and things like that. So I try to keep things that are going to cause consistent nightmares. And I know it was just bringing up a lot of shadow shit, but the way I choose to do shadow work is different, and I kind of know when something is a nightmare as opposed to as well like sort of astral energy seeping through. So I had a lot of that stuff as well. Also lepidolite. I did have a chunk of it. I can't remember where I put it. It used to be like near my window, and that's where it needs to be because there was a lot of energy around a broken part of my window when I moved in. But in terms of like working with it, it's supposed to like relieve depression, and for some reason, like that's why I bought it, to help me with my depression, but for some reason it ends up actually causing me to be ill, so I don't know whether I will need to just cleanse it. I've tried that before, but yeah, it's just one of those very strange stones, and it's really beautiful as well, but doesn't work, like, doesn't work. Is there anything that bothers you about your deity or your practice? Okay, so I have shifted between a lot of deities in my practice. I started with Demeter and Persephone, and those two are quite stable in terms of like coming in and out of my life, but they're alongside it with Hades. I'm working with Hades at the moment again. So I guess the thing that annoys me about those particular deities is that they are so seasonal, and I consistently am working to solidify them in my life, but they are so transitory. And a lot of the gods and goddesses that I work with are very transitory, and I've been becoming used to that idea. For a very long time I wanted to have a matron or patron deity, and I do think that as my practice evolves, Ganesha is definitely up there with a patron male deity, but I also think Hades is starting to really make himself known as like a strong, not contender, because I don't really like to like battle between those two, but I guess just the fluctuation between that. The Morrigan has been a part of my life, but she's kind of left for a while. Yeah, just a transitory nature, and I think that is also because of like my own relationship with people, my own relationship with myself. I'm in constant flux, I'm constantly evolving. That's why I work with Death Deity a lot, because you know, it's making me understand that people aren't going to stay in your life forever. I'm dealing with like the issues of abandonment and things like that too, so yeah, maybe it's because they bring up some really deep shadow stuff that tends to, like, I would say, what's the word? It doesn't stop me from living life, because that's not how I like sort of work with magical stuff, but it does mean that I have to focus more on the magical things as well, on spirituality, on grounding myself and things like that too, so yeah. What do you do when a spell doesn't work? I really don't care. My principle in terms of like spell work and ritual work is just to experiment. A lot of the times I don't even document it. I think for me primarily what I work with is dreams, I work with ET energy, I work with tarot, and a lot of my magical work is actually writing. It's taken me a really long time to understand that writing a novel itself and playing things like role-playing games and things like that is as much a part of my magical practice as working with deity and archetypes and things like that. So when spells don't work, I don't take it to heart. And you know, that might be like, you might think that, well then why are you doing it in the first place? But I guess that's just the way that I work. It doesn't bother me so much. Oh, I've only got 5 minutes, so I'm gonna have to speed through this. Have you ever done a meditation or astral work where that didn't work? All the time, because I tend to, when I get really deep, I tend to get really scared, and I take myself out of it a lot. I do a lot of my best astral work when I am meditating, like on a really good night, usually linking it to creativity and journaling as well, so I kind of intertie those things together. That's when I've been most successful. But especially early on in my practice, there were a lot of times when I would disassociate, and I have a lot of issues with disassociation because of my Asperger's, because of other things as well. So yeah, I have a feeling this is going to have to be in 2 parts. So I might actually stop that there and talk a little bit more about astral, that side of things as well in my next video, because my camera is dying and I would like to get this uploaded. So Grumpy Witch tag in 2 parts. Hopefully you've enjoyed this part so far. Yeah, I think also astral stuff too. I just need to say too that it's linked a lot with my sleep paralysis. I've had some experiences lately as well. So because I'm a Cancer and I live my subconscious mind. I spend a lot of time in the astral realm anyway. So I kind of do notice when things go wrong, or I'm in contact with energies that don't really resonate with me as well. Same with meditation. I tend to path work rather than sit there and kind of focus on things. I use writing as a meditation. I use creativity as a meditation, drawing as a meditation, and I use those to access those parts of my mind. So when it goes wrong, it's usually because I pulled myself out of it because I've seen something that's too scary for me to process at the moment. So for example, like particular ET energy doesn't really resonate with me at times. Ghosts aren't something that I am okay with at the moment, I guess you can say. I don't really like working with them because I've had sort of negative experiences with particular energies, and that's for me to work out in my own practice. Anything that has a really heavy energy tends to pull me out of a meditation. I'm really used to balance and things like that too because of the way I have lived my life. So anything that tends to, I guess, trigger some of those aspects as well can take me out, because when we're in the astral realm too, like, it's not all pretty and roses as well. It's, you know, we create a sacred space that's supposed to hold those energies of support and optimism, and it's really a place of boundaries as well. So I guess when my meditations and astral work doesn't go well, it's because I haven't solidified my boundaries, I haven't put up my protective shields, I haven't considered what it is I'm searching for, because I tend to like to go there when I'm searching for things as well. And 2 minutes. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. So thank you guys for watching, and there will be a part 2 soon. Okay guys, bye.